in keeping with this idea of adding new drugs to CHOP-based backbones, probably one of the earliest, biggest endeavors that explored this was one conducted by the Nordic Lymphoma Study Group, led by Francesco D'Amore. And they had spent a lot of time over the years looking at addition of CAMPath and trying to change the backbone. And they did a randomized study called ACT-1 in primarily younger patients with T-cell lymphoma ranging from 18 to 65. And it was a randomized comparison of CHOP every 14 days, more dose dense, followed by autologous stem cell transplant, versus CAMPath CHOP every 14 days, followed by stem cell transplant. So at the time it made complete sense. And this is the final results of ACT-1 are presented here at this meeting. And it made sense because CAMPath, targeting CD52, is a biologic that's demonstrated activity against other CD52 positive T-cell malignancies, in particular TPLL, work done by Claire Drearden and others. And so that trial represented a very reasonable concept to try to move forward. Unfortunately, the early phases of the trial were wrought with all sorts of untoward toxicity, mostly embodied by CMV, viremia, which in some cases was fatal, and other types of infections, including fungal infections. The Nordic Lymphoma Study Group made appropriate amendments to the dosing of the CAMPath, and those modifications to that dosing led to a marked reduction in that untoward toxicity. And so, while some of the metrics are favoring the CAMPath-containing arm, i.e. overall response rate or CR rate, at the end of the day, when you take all those patients on an intention to treat analysis and look at their survival or progression-free survival post-transplant, the disappointing news is no difference. And so, is this because this concept of adding potentially good drugs to a bad backbone is flawed, or is it this is a flawed drug that's not going to complement that backbone? And so we have a lot more to figure out in terms of how to fix things. And while Echelon 2, as I pointed out before, is a positive study, it is by no stretch of the imagination the end of the story, because still only about half the patients are experiencing long-term survival. And of those, that half represented predominantly anaplastic large cell lymphoma. So we really have a lot of work to do on helping patients with those other subtypes of the disease, but Dr. D'Amore will be presenting the final results of ACT-1 here at this meeting, which we've been probably hearing about for the last 5 to 10 years.